What's up, my Morning Manna team? Such a pleasure to be with you. We're talking about 6 ideas, 6 principles from kind of the crux moment of Queen Esther's story. This is that place where Mordecai, her cousin who's raised her, is recruiting her to go in and speak to the king and kind of entreat his help to save them from this plot that Haman has launched. You could read the story of Esther. I'm kind of focusing in on chapters 4 and 5. But there's this poetic, this beautiful, it's one of the most quoted spots from Esther where Mordecai says to Queen Esther as she's nervous, she's concerned, I haven't been called in, I don't know if he'll receive me, he might depose me, he did that with the queen before, I don't know what's going to happen. And Mordecai kind of reaches out to her and says, listen, just know this, God's going to save. Whether you respond or not, God will save his people. And then there's a little warning, but understand, if you don't step up in this time, it'll be too late for you and your father's household. And then the encouragement, but maybe, just maybe, you've been called for such a time as this. I think that's so good because there's so many powerful and deep truths there. I love the theological understanding that I think is important for all of us. God is going to move. I've read the whole Bible. I know the end of the story. God wins. Jesus has conquered death and hell, and he holds the keys. He wins. He's seated at the right hand of the Father. We don't have to worry. He has already conquered, and he will move. I think theologically we can understand God's created some big stuff for us. He's got some plans. I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. He's created some works for us to do long before we even realize that God has some stuff in your life. I think it's important for us to know because it helps us. It brings me peace. God doesn't need me. He's not waiting to figure out if I'm going to be obedient here or if I'm going to do just the right thing there. God is going to be successful. He's going to move. He's going to have his way. The truth is, God recruits me. He gives me the opportunity. He's put purpose in my life, calling in my life, because God has great reward set up for me. And so I love that Mordecai's just captured this whole idea. He says, really, Esther, it's your moment. You are created for this. You're supposed to play a role in saving your people, and it's going to be awesome. But your role, your obedience, really is about your reward. I need to step into what God has for me. I need to obey him. I need to fulfill my calling because my reward for eternity is based on what I've done in this life with what I've been given. I go to heaven based on what Jesus did, but my reward is based on what I do with what I've been given. And so it's this powerful truth. You can trust that God is going to have his way. There's nothing and no one, not you, not the enemy, not anyone else who's ever lived, who's going to hold God back from what he has desired to do. And yet he still gives us the opportunity to be a part. I love that Mordecai speaks over Esther, and I want to speak it over you for what God has in front of you. Maybe, just maybe, you've been put on the planet for such a time as this. Obey God, press into the impossible things, and trust him to move. God bless you.